Secrets of the Ferns. Chapter 9. Daniel in the Lion's Den. The man in black continued to tell me about this bizarre mythology surrounding immortals and aliens, literal world building and such. I had known his stories would get weirder each day, but I needed to hear them. Something stopped me from asking questions because I wanted to know what new story he'd tell me next. So here he continued where he left off after returning from the bathroom. The immortal musician and the unique mortal intern were on a stroll just outside their Earth restoration project that they persuaded God to let them conduct. Lucifer asked Daniel, "So why sabotage the leader of the creations department? Hasn't he done enough damage on his own?" Daniel said, "Yes, this tree is not sabotage, it's a failsafe. The fruit is very appetizing to human eyes, with a rich sweet taste, and with each bite they gain knowledge of concepts like time and space, imagination and empathy, art and beauty, morality, ethics, and love. Without it, they are blind and ignorant. They'll remain naked beasts that blindly follow God's insane commands. They have already eaten from it, thankfully, to our serpentine friends, the Fanghoul. God is clearly not happy with us, but I'll personally see to it that we don't catch any hell over it." Lucifer sighed in relief at Daniel's reassurances. "I gotta say, the world was bad before God started running things, but at least humans had something resembling dignity. Just look at them now." Lucifer gestured to the two boys that were walking in the field of potato plants in the garden. The little boys were brothers. One was about to kill the other. "Unfortunately, it'll take a very long time, but they are at least capable now of understanding evil as much as they are capable of evil doing." Tears fell down Daniel's cheek as they witnessed the murder of the millennium, the murder of Abel. The two executives were summoned to God's office. God had a grandiose and tacky office of clouds and Greek pillars. Never good with the ladies, God copied a lot of styles from his frenemy, Zeus. In the pettiest of ways, he admired Zeus, but could not stand the idea that Zeus had cooler powers than he did. Lucifer and Daniel sat in God's office chair resembling a throne. No desk, just extravagance and excess frill. The control board was covered in large cobwebs. Dust bunnies collected between the dials and levers, and the buttons were broken. "My humans are smart now. Some don't even worship me anymore. Care to explain this?" God was red-faced and grinding his teeth. "We planted the tree thinking it would preserve the brain stems of the humans and provide ease of survival skills. We had no intention of—" "Lies!" God interrupted Daniel. "Lies! All lies!" Immediately God shot out fire and brimstone from his nostrils, and it consumed the Babylonian man to ashes. It stunk like burnt hair and carbolic acid. "And what to do with you?" God turned his fiery eyes to Lucifer, and his scaly wings began to flap, fanning the fires he had started. "To think that you sought counsel from a mortal. You are as foolish as the others in placing your trust in that man. But you took it one step further. From now on you will be demoted to the reincarnations department. is 3 cubicles down from mine. I'll have my eyes on you. So Lucifer went to his new assigned workplace. His wings had been burnt off, and his cubicle was locked so that he could not leave. He was now to oversee soul placements. Babies were born every day, matching their karmic cycles and past lives to the right soul was a tricky job and could take days per soul. Lucifer existed in a cubicle realm that was truly an eternal hell. For each client came with each new death and birth. They must visit him between lives just to be born where they're supposed to be born, with no memories of hell, no memories of past lives. Lucifer adopted his uncle's name, Satan, and like his uncle before him, became a trickster of sorts. God did not realize that the creations department did not have any jurisdiction whatsoever over the reincarnation department. However intricate the relationship between the two departments was, he had no oversight or control over soul placements. God had not demoted Lucifer. He accidentally promoted him to a leadership role and transferred him to an entirely separate department previously handled by a long-forgotten immortal, a goddess to be exact. Her whereabouts are still unknown. Satan, formerly Lucifer, knew this, but his cubicle still did not have an apparent exit. It was a puzzle he needed to sleep on. Satan was about to finally doze off for a nap as his cubicle gave him overwhelming silence and isolation. His eyes were about to fade into dreamland when his first client arrived right in front of his desk. A huge smile came to Satan's face. "You," Satan said to Daniel. "Yes, me. This is my 42nd reincarnation as a human. Now going on my 43rd. It is up to you where to put me next. By the way, I am so sorry for the demotion. I never intended to hurt your career. I do wonder whatever happened to Kali. You're sitting at her desk, you know." Daniel stammered on and was humbled in the presence of his immortal colleague who, among Odin and a few other gods and goddesses, had believed in him, despite his mortal status. Daniel looked up from his lap at Satan, who looked at Daniel with a bittersweet sympathy. "I'm going to let you reincarnate as a villager in another corporation's sanctions. You will have a new immortal managing you. His name is Buddha. He's pretty chill, and the civilization that follows him is very old. They could use a man like you, Daniel." "I'm confused," the mortal man with infinite memory replied. "Then your new name shall be Confucius," said Satan. Satan shot out a wintry ice that encompassed Daniel's soul, and Daniel was then reincarnated as a baby in China named Kong Fuzi. And as Lucifer said to Confucius's past life in Babylon, he did have lots to offer his new people. God reappropriated the Babylonian folk tale about Daniel to be one which glorified himself, and added some really strange embellishments to the story that made God look just fantastic. It was then the God who named himself God turned his anger and power hunger towards all the other immortals in Africa and Europe. First, he staged a suicide with Odin. He broke Anansi's web, burned down Hermes' library, which was later called the Library of Alexandria, and he pushed Thoth into another dimension through a vortex known as the Lake of Fire. Everyone wondered where Odin was since he was immortal. Nobody has ever returned from the lake of fire, and Hermes became a recluse, isolated in some unknown mountain range as a hermit does. Anansi was also missing. The immortals knew they were in trouble. Yod was no longer a dealer in free market trade. He was creating a monopoly that began to spread throughout most of humanity and godhood for years to come. His wrath knew no bounds, and he enslaved the goddesses and very few gods as his angels. Satan sat back in Kali's chair. He produced a fiddle out of thin air, and he began to play fast, yet mournful notes that bounced off the walls of his cubicle. He realized he had control of his office's appearance after his music gave him certain transformative emotions, shaping his surroundings to his will. He still could not leave no matter how hard he tried. His sadness wore off as he slowly shut his eyes, finally able to catch a nap, when he had a second client, and another, and another, and another, and another. The immortal who would later be demonized by God out of his frustration over not possessing any rule over soul placements, realized he was never going to sleep. It was then the so-called Prince of Darkness said to himself, "I'm going to have to put in an order for a pool table." He eyed around his cubicle. Hell, add a dartboard while I'm at it.